So I'd like to start with showing you how I have my scanning HUD set up. Now this is a dedicated scanning tune. I do have some tackle, and I have tackled people before in this, which is hilarious, but I'm just set up for scanning. So I've got the directional scanner here, and I've got the probe scanner here, and I've got my full bookmark window open. I've got it sorted by jumps, so whatever hole I'm in, the bookmarks for that hole will show at the top here. And then I can expand this over to the side, and I can get the other information on it if I need to. But so you can press F9 to open and close the system map. You can use this button on both the D-scan and the probe scanner to dock it and undock it in the solar system map. So if I'm going to scan, I will just click this button, and it docks it right in and brings the probe window up, and then I'm ready to go. And then when I'm done, I undock it and close the map. And F9, of course, being the shortcut for that. Alt-P, holding Alt and pressing P is the shortcut for probes, and Alt-D is the shortcut for directional scanner. So you can also, if you dock this in here, you can press Alt-P to hide and show it. But the directional scanner window, I didn't dock that. I left it undocked, so it is actually outside of this window still. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and undock this and close the window. Now, one thing you should always do in Eve is be moving, and because I'm making a video, I wasn't thinking too much about it. So I am cloaked, so this is flashing green. I'm cloaked. I'm in a covert ops, a Helios. I can move while cloaked, and I have maximum skills for all that. So this one's end of life, so I don't want to mess with it. But basically, what I do when I log on for the first time during the day, I've already done this, so it's going to be fairly straightforward. But I logged back out and back in because then any signatures that you ignored or scanned disappear on logout, like the record of you having done that disappears on logout. And then so this way I've got all these what look like fresh signatures. So I just logged in, I see all these signatures, and I want to know what's going on. So what I do, I look at the signature IDs here, and the ones in each bookmark that we have. Also, gas sites, data sites, relic sites will all have the signature in them too. And you just ignore each one. So if you click on one and then you hold the control key, you can multi-select and unselect and whatever if you're holding the control key. So I'm going to click on Alt because that's coffee here, which I have highlighted. We've also got Americano, which we collapsed, so there's no UEE there. So that's one of the first things I noticed, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Now you could also warp to the bookmark and check it out, but we just rolled this hole, so I know that it's gone. Okay, so starting with coffee, ALT, latte is IOA, milk is PIO, Nescafe is FVJ, and T is DBV. So I can select all those and ignore results. Now what I've got now is a clean probe window, so if another signature pops up, it'll show here. If one of these holes, or if one of the holes that are static, if T or milk collapse, then the new signature will show up here. And that's how we're able to recognize so fast. Like, you guys might see us be like, oh, there's a new signature. That's how we recognize that. And so basically the first thing you want to do is just go through, make sure everything is ignored on your probe scanner. If you ignore all those signatures and there's still some left, you know you have some scanning to do. If some of these signatures in these bookmarks are not in the list, then you know those have collapsed, or the sites have been run, or whatever it is. And as you move from system to system, it used to be that if you left this system and you came back, anything you ignored or scanned would be forgotten and you'd have to start all over. But thankfully now it tracks in your session. As soon as you log out, it's all wiped. You come back in and you don't know what's going on unless you go through this again. But it'll keep track of this for the session, so I could go jump this hole and then come back, and it would still be filtering or ignoring all results. Like, it keeps track. So, with that being said, we'll pause it and we'll pick up in another video. Alright, you've probably heard us talk about how important covert ops cloaks are, and the reason for that is because you can not only move at full speed while you're cloaked, but you can also warp around while you're cloaked. So you've also heard us talking about watching holes. So here I have my scan alt orbiting T at the perch, so 667 kilometers away, and I did a right click, then I did a look at. So here, let me just look at my ship. So basically, when I landed here, first thing I did was orbit it at current distance, and then I looked at it, and then I used the scroll wheel to just make sure I'm zoomed in all the way. Now, I'm not sure how well this will translate through in the video, but I want to show you what it sounds like when you're watching the hole and somebody activates. So I'm currently burning chisel in to the hole from out in T, out in the high sec, and he will be activating in a minute, and we should hear him come through the hole. And then Shizzle will have no idea I'm watching. He doesn't know. He just sees an empty system on scan other than the planetary launch container. And here we go. There he goes. I have my speakers turned down at the moment, but that was the activation. Let me get him in the hole. And he's got a covert ops cloak too on his Loki. He's cloaked up, but he's still moving pretty fast, and I can warp him around wherever he needs to go. So we will go explore Nescafe. No, because that's a C5. I'll pick milk. We'll go explore milk. So I'm going to go ahead and warp. Now I'm warping while cloaked because I have a covert ops cloak. Let's see, cloaked. And normally I would warp to the overlook first before I warp somewhere, but I'm actually looking at milk from this side on another one of my characters, and I know it's clear. There's nobody bubbling the hole or anything, so I'm just going straight to it this time. I'm going to jump in. When I get to the other side, I'm going to burn off. Now, we'll burn off and orbit the hole. Now, what you can do when you activate your cloaking device, you have like 4 seconds before your ship is fully cloaked and disappears. During that time, you can still activate modules. So I can orbit the hole at 30, cloak, count to 1, 2, 3, hit my micro warp drive, and right as I start burning off, I disappear. And then if there's somebody waiting to catch you, you can just change direction a little bit. Well, that wasn't enough, but you get the idea. You just double click and you change direction. Go the other way. Orbiting at 30, so we've already done this here, but I'm going to warp to a customs office. I don't always pick the furthest one. This time I'm going to, for the sake of a long warp. So if I warp to, I have customs office on my overview, because if you warp to the planet, it's a different spot than the customs office, and you can actually land on top of the customs office, warping to the planet at 100 or whatever. So anyway, I'm going to warp to the customs office, and then I will immediately turn around, warp back to milk at 100.
Warp drive active.
And if you bring up the add location, you can actually drop this by pressing enter or clicking submit while you're in warp. So now as we approach milk, the distance gets lower and lower. When it gets under 20,000, I can drop a bookmark there too, and you'll see, I don't know if you saw that it dropped that back here. It's 5,383 away from the hole. That should be enough
Drive
to
active.
watch, to be able to see the hole on grid, but yet you're so far away that even a max speed interceptor at maximum velocity would take a long time, like minutes, to reach you. So now from out here, from this far away, we can look at the wormhole, and we can orbit, and then we can rename this bookmark that we dropped near the hole as milk perch at, I'll just do 5480. I pick a number that's close, and it was RSZ was the SIG ID, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that 700 overlook, because it's better to have it further away, and then you don't run less chance of getting trapped in a bubble. So I'm just going to do this again. I'll warp to this customs office at 100.
Warp drive active.
And this is the tactical overlay here, by the way. You can get this by clicking here on the tactical overlay. Alright, so I click the add location button, have this waiting. When I get under 20,000 kilometers or so, I press enter, drop the bookmark in space, where my ship was at the time. Of course, lag will play a role in this, but you can see here I dropped it at 5383. So we can warp to it either by right-clicking it there, or we can come over here, warp to it.
Warp drive active.
And as long as you're less than like 8,000 or so, you should be able to see the objects on grid, anything that's on grid. So I would not normally bookmark this. I'm going to delete it when we're done, but customs Planet 9 perch at 5480, which is exactly the same as the other one. That's funny. So now I have a perch that I can warp to and watch the customs office. And there's not really any reason to do that unless somebody's shooting it or something or whatever, but so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. But you can just drop bookmarks in space as you're flying, and you can even, if you click this add location button, or I think the key you cut is Control B. Yeah, Control B, enter. Control B, enter. Control B, enter. And you just keep dropping bookmarks as you're flying, or as you're sitting here, like that. And you can actually use this to... So I'll warp to one of the random spots that I dropped, and we'll open the... Keep in mind I'm cloaked while I'm doing all of this. So... we're now at my random bookmark spot that I dropped while flying from Milk to the customs office. Now this is directly in line with these 2 points, so if somebody warps past me, I can see them, and if I'm uncloaked, they can see me for just a split second. They can also see me on DIRScan if I'm not cloaked, but so from here, let's say I warp to Planet 8 Customs Office at 100.
Warp drive active.
Then I can drop a bookmark in mid-flight. These covert op ships are fast, so you have to be pretty quick with it. And you can see, where did I put it? See here that flying from here to here, I dropped a bookmark here. This bookmark is not in line between 2 objects in space. If you fly, actually it kind of is. That's funny. It just happened to be that way. But nobody, even though it looks like it's in line, it's not exactly in line, and anybody flying by is going to clip by at, 8 million kilometers or something like that, and they're not going to be able to see you. You're not going to show up on grid if you're uncloaked, and it's a pretty safe spot because it's not directly in line. Like if you're flying from Milk to the customs office and back, then that would be directly in the path. So I would call this a safe spot because it's pretty safe. Somebody would have to probe you to even get it, or they would have to know where your first vector point was that you started with, or something like that. Now you can keep warping from bookmark to bookmark, and you can shimmy this over. So let's say I don't like the fact that it's so close to that. It's so close to the pathway for that. So let's warp to Planet 6 Customs Office. That's 70 this time. It's good to just kind of switch it up. Okay, so we warped from this planet to this planet via Customs Office. Now I can warp from here to the safe spot and drop another bookmark.
Warp drive active.
Put it too close to the... Sometimes that happens too. You get a lag spike or something, and it just drops it where you previously were instead of where you actually are. So we'll go back to that spot. See, I'm warping to the spot, and I will drop another bookmark as I'm warping there. There we go. That's perfect right there. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the other safe spots. Oh, no, sorry. I need to warp to this first as soon as I land. Warp to this. I can remove these locations now, which will also remove the place that I just warped to. But we'll just go ahead and add another bookmark. We're not going to drop it till we actually land, and we'll call that one safe spot. Now this is a better safe spot. Though, you know what? That's funny. Not really, because it's sort of in the path here, but it's not perfectly in the path. You can see if somebody flew from Milk to this planet, it wouldn't cross me. It would go to the side of me. So that's the idea anyway. This just happens to be a shitty system for trying to shimmy bookmarks around. Everything's kind of in the same triangle here. So you can also use sights. You can enable anomalies. There's only one in here, but sometimes there's anomalies like way up here or something, and you can warp up there and then warp down and make a safe spot that's off the plane. So that's the other thing too. So as you see here, these are obviously space is three-dimensional, so these aren't directly in the line here. I'm going to go ahead and disable anomalies again because I don't like seeing them sitting there, and we'll pick up in another video. Show you how fast the Covert Ops ship is at various tasks. So some of this has been scanned already. I don't really care. I'm just going to go ahead and dock to the solar system map, and I'm going to uncloak, drop my probes, and as soon as I can I'll recloak up. Now one thing you can do sometimes when I'm waiting for that cloak to cool down, I will... Where are they? Oh, they're already way out there. So I just hit analyze. It's going to send my probes so far out of system that nobody can ever even know they're there unless they just happen to drop combat probes like right on the same spot. So now when I hit scan, there's no probes on scan. So then that gives me a minute of nobody really necessarily knowing that I'm here. I can bring them back in, and they won't actually fly back in until I click the Analyze button. So I'm just going to kind of drop it. I'll drop it over here on this one. Now I could probably find a better cluster, but if we double click it, it centers in, and then we can scroll around. We make sure we're zoomed in pretty good. Probes are going to take a minute to fly all the way back. So they've made it, and now they're scanning, and now I can double click RSV again here. I can see how we're doing on the vertical plane, bring it down a bit, see how we're doing on the horizontal plane, bring it over, just double check we're in there, drop the probe size, analyze, and we'll go ahead and double click on that again. You can either do it on the window here, or you can do it directly in the map. Center it, and then we'll just scoot up, scoot over, and shrink and analyze again. And while that's going on, just double click to center on it again. And we've also found this wormhole over here. You see I've got almost 119 scan resolution. So now we've got the gas site. I can bookmark that, and I can come back later and rename it. So let's see what this wormhole is. This is an unstable wormhole we've already bookmarked. And as you can see, somebody has bookmarked the signature itself, which is not on top of the wormhole. So if you warp here, you might be like 20k off the hole. So that's why we leave it, if you're bookmarking directly from here, that's why you leave it with the standard bookmark name that comes up by default, because then we know you haven't warped to it yet. If you name it something like this as you're saving it from here, then we'll think that you already warped to it, and we'll go to it expecting the bookmark to actually be made on the hole, like after you've landed there, and we'll land like 20k away and be like, ah, damn it. So so anyway, as you can see, it's pretty easy to scan in Covert Ops Ship 2, and your cloak, nobody knows you're there. The only time anybody would have seen me is when I came in this hole for like that 6-second window when I was orbiting, cloaking, and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and warp to the milk perch, and I'm going to go ahead and close or undock the probe scanner and close the map. And you can see how fast the Covert Ops works. So last time when I jumped into a hole, I orbited it, I cloaked up, and then hit my micro warp drive a couple seconds later before the cloak was finished, so that I could hide my top speed and exactly where I was going, how fast, etc. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm sitting at the perch here for return to roost. I'm going to go ahead and jump into roost, and then I'm just going to warp off to a spot. And I'm watching myself do this on the computer next to me on a different character. So as soon as I jump in, I'm just going to orbit. I'll do it at 20 this time, hit my cloak button, 1, 2, 3, micro warp drive, and right now I disappeared. I just disappeared from my character, from my other character. And that's all anybody sees. They have no idea where I went, what I'm doing exactly, and it'll stay that way. I don't show my hand. I don't let them know I'm here other than that. If anybody just happens to be watching, they have from the time they hear activation to the time I'm already gone is like 6 or 7 seconds max. And, you know, unless they just happen to be staring right at the screen, they're probably not going to see that. Or they'll see it, but your name you'll disappear so fast they can't get your name. So just to show you how fast Covert Ops can get into warp, I will jump Nescafe.
Warp drive active.
And again, I'm watching it on another character, so I know what's happening. I know it's not bubbled. Otherwise, normally I would warp to the overlook first to make sure it's clear, and then go in. And again, nobody knows I'm here until right about now. I just showed up and I'm activating. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I was visible for about 8 seconds there on that side. I'm going to orbit, cloak up, 1, 2, 3, micro warp drive, 5, 6, 7. I'm gone. Hold on a second, please. I'm making a video. So the other thing you can do as well. Okay, what I'll do, I'll warp to the perch. Oh, here. So I made a perch at the Citadel here because we saw the people that own these customs offices. Now that's another nice thing about having customs office on your overview. You can see who owns them. That's not necessarily who owns the system or who is active in the system, but it kind of gives you an idea of maybe who might be involved in operations in the system. So earlier I made an overlook for their Citadel, so now I can orbit that and I can look at it. They have no idea I'm here, but I know one of them is in there docked up, and I can show info on it, see who owns it. Yes, it matches the customs offices. I can then go look up their corp on Z kill board, see where they're active, you know, look up this hole in their kill board, look up the hole ID, and see how often they have action in here. to determine how long they maybe have been here. Like, so if they've done a lot of PvP kills in the last month, but then there was nothing in here before that ever, then you know they probably moved in about a month, maybe two ago. There's also, if you turn on force fields in your overview, you can see from directional scanner whether or not towers have a force field. So you can see there's a ship maintenance array which goes with a tower, it has to be placed in a tower, and there's a force field active on that tower. There's no other towers, so we know that this force field belongs to this tower and the ship maintenance array belongs to this tower. You cannot just blow up the ship maintenance array without taking down the POS first, which is a huge task. So if having force field on my overview, if I hit scan and this didn't show up, and I saw there's a tower and a ship maintenance array, I would be like, oh my god, we're gonna get some ships, and I'd call everybody, and I'd find it, and it would just be a ship maintenance array floating in an offline tower with no force field, and we could pop it, steal all the ships or whatever, and that's how you make billions. You can literally make tens of billions blowing up a ship maintenance array, especially an extra large one. Anyway, so that's pretty much that, and then I'll just I think I'm going to call this done.
Warp drive active.
But I will just head back to Nescafe. Now I have nobody watching this side, so I'm going to the perch first, or overlook as I like to call it, because that's the old language we used to use in my old corp. So I'm warping to the perch first, so I can make sure the hole is clear. I don't get stuck in a bubble doing that. So the hole's all the way over there. It's clear. There's nobody around it.
Warp drive active.
Also, I have enemies set to, or anybody who's not a contact of mine will flash orange. So if anybody just shows up at the hole, if anybody, and even in high sec, everybody flashes orange, and I know that they're not friends. Okay, so watch how fast this warps. So I'm going to go to the milk overlook at 30 and cloak. As soon as I do that, I'm going to disappear off scan after I've already warped. So I'm looking at my thing, I'm looking at my other character, and yes, I just disappeared as I'm warping off. So they could see where I warped to, if they were paying attention, because I actually warp faster than I can cloak in this, which is pretty funny. That's why I usually orbit, and then burn off, and then warp where I'm going to go. But you get the idea. The covert ops ships are pretty fast. There's no tank. If somebody's smart bombing a hole or something, you're probably going to get blown up. That's why you use your perches. And mine's set up for tackle. You can set it up for exploration or whatever you want to do. You cannot cloak up if you're within 2,000 meters of someone, and if someone comes within 2,000 meters of you, then they uncloak you. And that's not just people, that's objects too. Cans do it, wrecks do it, they will uncloak you. So if you get lower, if you get 2,000 meters or less away from them. So as long as you keep people away from you in one of these, you can, they can never find you. They don't know where you are, and they don't even know you're there watching them. So that's the benefit of a covert ops ship. So the one other thing I wanted to show you is skills. So you can improve skills for navigation. Acceleration control gives you more speed from afterburner and micro warp drive. Afterburner gives you more afterburner, less duration and less capacitor use for your afterburner. Which I'm using a micro warp drive, so that doesn't affect this ship. But evasive maneuvering is ship agility. High speed maneuvering reduces capacitor from micro warp drive. Navigation gives you 5% sub warp velocity bonus. So if you can go per skill level. So if you were skill level 2, you'd have a 10% bonus. If you could go 100 meters per second with that 10 normally in your ship, with that 10% bonus, you could go 110 meters per second. There's also warp drive operation, which reduces the capacitor need for engaging warp. So There's also fuel conservation for afterburners, but I don't really use those on him, so I didn't go with that. There's other skills as well. So, for example, the covert ops skill, which I'm also maxed on this tune, will, for this particular ship, the Helios, it doesn't say that it does anything here. But if I go to my fitting and I show info on the Helios, I can see Covert Ops gives a reduction in cloaking device CPU requirement, bonus to probe strength, and survey probes, which I don't use. So I have maximum bonus in that, which helps a lot. Also, for Helios is Galente. So if I look at Galente frigates, I've got Galente Frigate 5, which, if we look back at the Helios again, Galente Frigate gives more drone and hybrid turret damage, which I don't need anyway, but I have it if I need it. And then I've also got maximum skills in the tackling too, but I won't show you that right now. Also in engineering, if we look at engineering skills, we've got capacitor systems operation, capacitor management, CPU management. These are all good to have. Power grid management. There's also nanite operation and nanite interfacing. So there's these things called, do I have any on here? No, I don't. Anyway, there's nanites that you can use to repair modules that you've overheated. So you can do that in the field. As long as you don't completely break them, you can get out of battle and you can start the repair sequence and cloak up, and it'll continue while you're cloaked, or whatever. You can actually repair modules that are damaged while you're in space. So that's another good one to have. And I think I'll just stop this here, and we'll cover more stuff later, because I'm starting to get a sore throat. I'm talking so much. Alright, thanks.